weeks and say, "Oh, I didn't realize it had Zelda. I'm gonna get it."
Well, there's a there's
Zelda
a bigger
game.
That's a bigger discussion though, because like Nintendo has had hit or misses on misses on the Wii U for sure, and I mean, it's not like people need it. It's nothing like, you know what I mean. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. I like that one CNET article, which is like people are excited to once again play with Nintendo, which is good.
Yeah, but I think the people we might be doing the discussion before the
Oh yeah, right, yeah.
So speaking of, we've only got 4 top stories. We'll probably move through them fairly quickly too. Todd, as we read them, if you have anything that comes to mind to say in the discussion part of each of these little 4 top stories, let us know. It's not necessary. We might throw like a general reaction opinion question your way, but nothing that expects you to be an expert on any of these. And then as soon as we're done with top stories, Patrick and I are going to give our first impressions of the Switch. And Todd, if you want to weigh in on someone who wanted to get a Switch but didn't.
It's double the price of what is being sold in the US right now.
Okay, yeah. No, and that's a good thing to talk about. And then once we're done with that, then we'll go to talking about online shopping in Thailand and any other trends that we kind of find our way into. Then a couple emails and we're done.
Wow, I would think that it would be comparable in price as opposed in Thailand. Then why is it so expensive? Why is it double the price?
You know what? I'm not sure. I don't think it's supposed to be officially released here.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, the people that have it have not so far not commented on how they've gotten it.
So it's like black market Switch.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure it out. So even my friends.
It's officially released in a few countries, but if you're not on that list, you need some importers to actually buy it full price somewhere.
Gotcha.
Yeah, something like that. But it got so quickly, so I'm not sure what happened.
Do you think that people are going to want this after they see people play it?
Sounds like you want to get one.
Well, I'm just curious. No,
Switch
here's why. No, it's not that I have Switch envy. It's why I used to be a huge Nintendo fanboy, and so I want to see Nintendo do well. I just,
You tired of getting let down?
Yeah. I think that's it. It's like, I mean, I got so excited. I actually sold a bunch of stuff to get the Wii when it first came out, like things that I probably should have held on to. And I'm like, God, why did I do that? It's like buyer's remorse.
Wacom tablet. I sold it.
No, man. But I had like my ColecoVision. I had my Nintendo. I know.
You bought a little video game. You sold your old video game console that was made by a company that used to make leathered goods.
I know. and calculators.
Coleco, that was a Connecticut leather company or something. That's what
I don't remember.
Oh, is that what Coleco stood for? I never knew that.
It's like Tandy Computers, Radio Shack, Tandy. Tandy was a leather company because they still had a store in Modesto when my parents first moved there. It's like, I wonder if that's related to the Radio Shack Tandy, and it is.
Tandy,
and that parent company Tandy bought Radio Shack, I think, in the 60s or 70s.
All right, well, we are ready to get going. You guys ready? Here we go. Daily Tech News Show is powered by its audience. To find out more, head to dailytechnewsshow.com/support. This is the Daily Tech News for Saturday, March 4th, 2017. I'm Tom Merritt. Joining me today, Patrick Beja, host of many fine podcasts at FrenchSpin.com. I will not butcher your native language by trying to pronounce them all. The Phileas Club I could do. How's it going, Patrick?
It's going okay. How are you doing, Tom? I'm so glad that we can do this on a Saturday. Just, after a couple of years, there's a routine that starts settling in, and things aren't quite as exciting as it is in the beginning. And now on a Saturday, it's all new and different. So really
it does have a kind of a cool feel of like, ooh, this is fresh. This is different. This is interesting. Yeah, we're trying something out here, putting a little more flexibility in the DTNS schedule. We've got Daily Tech headlines if you just need the headlines every day. And we do that Monday through Friday for you. And that gives us a little flexibility to say, have someone on from Thailand to talk to us a little bit about how particularly online shopping is different there, but lots of other things. So please welcome Lertad Supadilok, who I will from now on just call Lertad, founder of Selsuki. Lertad, thanks for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me on.
Very interested to talk to Lertad today, and we will get to that in a moment. But we do have a few stories that may have sneaked in since you got the headlines in the feed yesterday. So let's start with those. Four former...
I think you forgot something.
Oh, Len! Shoot. It wasn't. See, if it's not written down in front of me, I'm ridiculous. Len Peralta, of course, with us to illustrate, because we didn't do a Friday show, and he usually illustrates the Friday shows. So, Len, thank you. I'm like super psyched that you're here, because I didn't want to make you get up on a Saturday morning. But it's
I'm
awesome.
up anyway. But this is really exciting. It is kind of keeping the relationship fresh, so I'm excited about doing that and drawing for you guys today on a Saturday morning. It's going to be terrific.
And we gave you lots of interesting things to work from. So
for sure. It's going to be fun.
Very, very excited to see what Len comes up with. 4 former Uber employees telling the New York Times' Mike Isaac about something called greyball. May or may not be what Len is illustrating right now. But greyball is, think of it like blackball, but not totally blackballing you. It's a part of a program called VTOS that's meant to identify people violating Uber's terms of service. So if they think you're violating the terms of service, they'll give you sort of a false Uber that won't be able to get any rides, and maybe even shows cars that aren't on the road. Uber allegedly used greyball to identify and circumvent officials who were trying to clamp down on the ride-hailing service. That's a quote from the New York Times article. Uber told the Times the program is used to deny ride requests to users violating the terms of service, including, and Uber said this, opponents who collude with officials on secret stings meant to entrap drivers. So, Patrick, the idea here is that Uber kind of skating the line of legality by saying, you know what, we're going to identify people who are trying to enforce laws against ride hailing that we might be in opposition to and stop them from being able to spy on us.
How is that? I'm sure there are some ways to defend it in its legality, but I'm also certain that there are ways to, action on it, to action on it, on its legality. It seems like the same kind of reckless behavior that Uber had, kind of left behind a year ago. And I don't know how old this one is, but it sounds outrageous. I mean, maybe it can be explained away, but it does sound really bad. And when it comes on the heels of all of the other issues that we've heard from Uber in the past few days and weeks, it's like, what is this? 2014 again? Like, what's happening to Uber again?
If I could give my insight into why Uber thinks this might be okay, and Uber says its lawyers have reviewed it and say it's okay, it's that word entrap that they used in their quote to the New York Times. In other words, this could be considered entrapment if an official gets in to log what's happening without telling them they are an official of the government, in which case that might be illegal. You can't lie about who you are if you're a law enforcement official or an official of the government enforcing the law.
Well, first of all, sure, but are we certain that that program correctly identifies all of those people and only denies them the service?
Well, and that's the interesting thing about this article. If you read into it, they were doing things like geofencing Capitol buildings and looking at people who were opening and closing the app a lot. They were identifying officials by name by looking at them on social media and on websites. So it's actually a pretty sophisticated system at identifying the people. That is probably the scariest thing of all about this.
Sure. And, even if let's say it's all above board, it's all legal, everything, when it's the fifth thing that happens in, a week, it's like it doesn't look good anyway, and it isn't gonna help because Uber's main issue isn't really go down to the bottom of it. It's not exactly what they're doing. They're doing questionable things, but their image deficit is again being deepened with this. Or at least that's the way I understand it.
I mean, and it's not like this
I'm
is
not-
something they did this week, like some of the other revelations and apologies and investigations, but it certainly breaks at an opportune time for them.
Exactly. And I don't know how long it's going to be able to keep its head, meaning its CEO, in place after this. It seems like now, he apologized. There were systemic issues, and at some point, something's going to give. I think his position has to be really hard to maintain now at this point.
Lord Todd, I'm curious if Uber has any profile in Thailand right now.
Yeah, we're in the romantic phase of Uber right now. Everyone loves it. They're competing with a regional competitor called Grab Taxi. So it's basically Grab Taxi's approaches to better, and Uber is just like Uber.
Yeah.
So
yes.
yeah. Any way to make the taxis better.
Just to be clear, I still use Uber and I like it very much because it's super handy. It's very, very convenient. But I don't want to make it seem like I'm being hypocritical. My
alternative here is Lyft. In Thailand, it's Grab Taxi. Is there an alternative in France that has any traction?
There are a few, but they don't have as many. It's just so easy.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone knows Uber, possibly because of the issues as well. And you just fire up the app and you're gone. There are others, but there are issues of, they don't work quite the same way because legally they're in a gray area because you can't have exactly the way they work. So you have people who are going to create apps that are just for actual hailing, like ride sharing. But then can you really trust that they're going to go the way you want and how long it's at? All right, I just use Uber. So I don't know. It's still a very good position to be in for Uber, but I think in all of those issues that they've been having aren't impossible to remedy. It's just that there has to be a signal at some point that they need an adult at the helm, and I don't know. We'll see, but this is just one more, I guess.
Yeah. Thus ends Uber's no good, very bad week, essentially. Yeah.
Well, let's hope that we still have Sunday. I guess in some parts of the world, Sunday is part of the same week. So
same week. Yeah. Good point.
Microsoft reports changing Windows to differential updates, only sending the code that has changed in Windows 10, has reduced the size of downloads 65% for Windows insiders who do frequent updates, and should reduce it 35% for everyone else.
Yeah, this is just a nice thing to note. When you get your next Windows 10 Creators Update, if you're not in the Insiders program, it won't be as huge of a download because it's only going to replace the code that needs to be replaced. And if you're in the Insiders program, because you're frequently replacing code, that's less code each time. So this is a good thing, especially if you're in bandwidth constrained situations.
It seems like differential updates should be the standard for everything everywhere, right? It sounds outrageous that to this day, when you have a download, when you have a piece of code that changes 10%, you have to re-download the whole thing.
Everything, yeah. Line announced at Mobile World Congress Thursday that it will bring its own voice assistant platform called Clova. That's short for Cloud Virtual Assistant. Get it? Clova. It will also come out with a smart speaker, kind of like an Amazon Echo, called Wave that will use Clova. You'll be able to talk to Clova on it. Both will come to Japan and South Korea in early summer. Line also announced that it has acquired a controlling stake in Vinclu. They're the makers of the Gatebox holographic anime bot that helps keep lonely salarymen company. That sells for $2,700 in US dollars. So it ain't cheap. But yeah, line diversifying here. This is smart.
Yeah, I feel like, Letad, I think you guys use Line a little bit more than we do in the West, right?
Yeah, we're one of their major markets. I think we're their second biggest market, actually, aside from Japan.
So are you looking forward to your Clova?
Yeah, I can have I can give some insight online. It's a very different approach than Western companies. So your Japanese Japanese, and they usually like to develop things in house. They don't put in APIs and stuff as a default. So they usually have a lot of products that are similar to what you have in the US, but they're usually like, maybe 50% of the development. Just the progress is a bit more slow, and it's a closed system.
And so it's a little locked in, a little harder to break into then.
It's a little locked in, yeah. Like everyone launched message bots, so they launched messaging bots as well. But I mean, except for the fact that if you use your app as a messaging bot, then you can no longer chat through it humanly. It turns into 100% bot.
I know this is this is the most important part of this, but how does the name Clova sound? Because it's a little weird in English.
It does not sound great in Thai either.
Okay.
Or Japanese. Yeah, I don't think it sounds good. It's correct in any language.
In Japanese, it would be in Japanese it would be like kuroba, which I mean, one of the most difficult combination of Roman letters transliterate in Japanese. So, but they're used to it.
Yeah, it just makes me think of cloven hooves, which makes me think of cows. Which isn't necessarily a bad thing, I guess.
Cows are people too, Tom. Wait, no,
that's right. No, they're cows. But this is interesting, and an interesting insight from Lord Todd there. Thank you for that. On sort of the closed up nature.
Yeah, another thing about all these voice systems is all you guys get excited about it, but they rarely ever support like ESIN languages.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we never get excited about these voice activated things.
Well, and because they're launching Japan and South Korea, who knows if they'll ever bring it to Thailand, right?
Good point. Well, you'll just have to enjoy your Gatebox holographic anime bot that you will have, shelled out almost $3,000 for, I guess. It sounds expensive, but if it can actually help you feel less lonely, I'm sure there's... That is actually a big problem in Japan right now. There are a lot of, 30-something people who are just single, and it's becoming an actual societal issue. Now, it seems Gatebox is riding that wave on the wrong side of it, helping people stay alone, I suppose. But
or maybe it helps. It's like a gateway to meeting other people. You get practice in.
Well, my knowledge of anime companionship leads me to believe that it deepens the divide more than because the anime companion is usually not behaving like a regular human person.
Sure, not a training system. Got it.
All right, Facebook added an option for makers of bots on the Messenger platform to replace the text entry box with a menu of items. Messenger also added customizable share messages, a share in Messenger button for websites and apps, and the ability for bots to upload attachments.
I get why this is here, because there's a lot of companies out there who want to get on this Messenger platform, but their interface requires a lot more work if they have to translate it into natural language. And the natural language on the bots isn't as good as it will be eventually someday. Also, there's like on the Domino's pizza bot, there's just pre-populated potential answers. And so if you've already got a menu system, how different is that from pre-populated answers? But doesn't this kind of undermine the whole point of having bots, which is that you don't need to develop an interface and you just talk in natural language?
I guess it's useful sometimes, but again, Letad maybe has more insight on this point.
Yeah, I mean, I actually just saw this news, but I was just briefly mentioning this. The bots, we have some bots here, but I think I've always thought of the messaging bots as kind of like call centers, except in chat centers where you have to listen to the automated voice and then you press a button. I think this is not too surprising. This is the way the bots in line work around here.
Yeah. The thing is, it's not going to help the bot get better at conversing. One of the things you can do when you have natural language is identify where conversations broke down and then train the bot to recognize that and get better in the future.
But I think it can be helpful to have that as an additional tool when you need it during the conversation flow. It's not all of a sudden gonna make all bots conversations, text entry boxes only. But when you get to a point where you need someone to decide between two or three things, it makes things a little bit easier. I think it's useful. The way I would imagine it working would be, this is an additional option in the interaction rather than going to replace. So yeah, I think it's useful to have.
So
Depends on how the companies use it. Yeah.
The way I'm sorry. Yeah, and the way it works here is that the menu appears, and once you press the menu, it kind of auto types. So yeah, so I mean the typing is just kind of like triggering the command of the bot. It's like you're supposed to type.
I'm not sure I understand how that works.
Yeah. Let's say you're supposed to type chat, for example, or buy, the keyword buy. But then, like, since people have so much trouble understanding what you're supposed to type, they insert a menu. So once you press, for example, button A, then it types buy for you.
So it's like an auto suggest feature.
It's like an auto suggest.
And to be clear, you're saying that's the way bots work in Thailand, not the way this messenger bots work.
Yeah, I'm wondering if they're targeting markets around here, because I mean the reason people do this is because for many people that have just used the internet, these messaging and social platforms are actually the internet.
Yeah,
and
we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
And the ability to upload attachments could be convenient in that situation for bots as well. I could see.
Yeah.
Well, folks, if you want to get all the headlines each day in less than 10 minutes, subscribe to dailytechheadlines.com. Let's move on briefly to talk about the Nintendo Switch console. Went on sale Friday for $299. Legends of Zelda Breath of the Wild also began shipping. The e-store opened, and I got mine and started playing around with it. I've got a few thoughts and impressions on it, and largely, I have a more positive feeling than I expected about it. I have a few complaints, but the portability in particular, I have found to be pretty impressive. Patrick, both of us have only played with it for a short period of time at this point, but what's your first impression?
I've been reading about it and watching about it for so many weeks that I feel I already knew it before I had it in my hands. The screen is definitely good quality. That's a positive impression. The device is portable. I mean, it's not phone portable, but you can put it in your bag portable. The quality is good. Everything is looking in, the way people describe it, it's the way it is. Like the best aspects of the description are usually accurate. The kickstand is definitely flimsy, and it will not support it if there's anything, if the table is not perfectly horizontal, then it's gonna fall over. It's super flimsy. But aside from that, it works. It's good. The game, I'm saying the game because there's basically one that people really care about. The others are kind of bonuses. The Legend of Zelda, which Tom is showing here. It's looking pretty good. I've only played a couple of hours, so I'll refrain from passing final judgment. But it's one of the best reviewed games ever, like in the history of the world. I don't know if it holds up to that hype, but that's definitely a system seller. And on the other hand, there's definitely not a lot. So that's it feels like everything we've been talking about for the past I don't know, couple of months is what we got. So yeah, if you thought that was good, then it's good. If you thought it wasn't great, then your mind won't be changed now that it's out.
Yeah, that's fairly close to my impressions. Nothing surprised me about it, but certain things that I'm like, okay, they say this or that, or it looks like it does this or that. How's it going to work in practice? One is putting the SD card slot behind the kickstand confused the heck out of me. I couldn't find it at first. And the SD card slot, the mini SD card slot, is essential for this because you only have 32 gigabytes of onboard storage, and if you're going to be downloading from the eStore, you might need that SD card slot for things at some point. So I haven't needed it yet, but I think that's going to be important. That's not my headline though. My headline is, wow, I really can be playing Zelda on the television, and then when Eileen says, "Oh, we need to take the dog outside," I can pop that thing out and keep playing it. Now, it's a little awkward putting the Joy-Cons on the side. I keep hitting buttons. I can't figure out where I'm supposed to hold it while I'm attaching it. So I'm sure I'll figure it out eventually. But then I'm just standing at the back door playing the same game I just was. I didn't lose anything. It didn't have any weird, transfer time, and it's the same game. It's not a minimized version of it. And then I go and I put it back in the dock and I'm playing the game again on the big screen. And the way that works is really impressive. I did have what a lot of people have reported with lag between the controller and the docked console because of distance. And basically I just had to lean back forward and it came back into connection. Some people have said if you have the Joy-Cons docked when you do the first system update, it avoids that. I didn't know that by the time I had done the system, so I'm not sure if that would have changed anything for me.
Yeah, I mean, there are a few, nitpicky things we can talk about. Definitely the connection issue is a problem some people are experiencing. The SD card is, I mean, that's fine, but most people are not going to need it now because they're going to buy the physical cartridge for Zelda, and the other games are usually going to fit in the tiny internal memory of the console. Down the line, you're going to need one for sure. It is, Zelda is looks like a design wise impressive game. Artistically it's good, but I don't think it's going to make anyone who's not a Nintendo fanboy. I've been reading the subreddit for the Nintendo Switch, and it's very cute and very fun to look at everyone gushing over how every single aspect of the console is amazing. I think down the line, what's going to interest the audience in this show, is this going to be a successful console long run? And it's really hard to say. We've seen analysts predicting anything from like 4 million units at the end of the year to 8 or 9, one being relatively low, the other being really high. I think it's a good for the new console. They have a strong launch title. It doesn't matter that it's just one because they have more coming down the line. They have a lot of support from indie developers, which again are not going to please everyone in the world, but some people will find stuff to do on the console. And they have other titles coming, with some they've hinted at, some they've announced. The real battle is going to start happening at the end of the year, once the library of titles is going to be big enough that it's justifiable as a holiday season purchase, and maybe the price is going to go down a little bit, or we're going to see some pack-in games. So all in all, this is not a bad launch. I think it's a good launch. They're going to sell out those 2 million units that they wanted to sell by the end of March. And it's looking cautiously positive for the remainder of the year, I would say.
M. Bezdell in our chat room says, one thing I haven't seen mentioned about the dock is how does the Switch line up with it? Is there any play as it goes in, or does it follow a track? It does not follow a track, so I'm constantly putting it in at a little bit of the wrong angle. It's really easy to recover from that and find the USB-C plug. So I haven't had problems docking at it, but it's not super simple. And there are some reports of bezels getting scratched up as people sort of find their way in. But it works okay. It's not a big complaint of mine. My impression of this thing is that it really is a mobile gaming platform that you can easily dock and play on your television. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that Nintendo is adamant that it's not. They're saying it's a home console you can take on the go. If you look at it like that, I think it's semantics, but it definitely feels like a great portable console and an average home console. So if you look at it like that, it's probably best to think, it's a portable device.
But I love that I could be playing it on my TV and then take it downstairs and take it outside. I mean, that is the big selling point for this. If that's the thing that gets you excited, then you're probably going to be pretty happy with it.
And I think the other thing to keep in mind, lastly, is that for the price, which I know I would have liked it to be cheaper, but the screen quality, this is not a $1,000 phone that we're talking about. It's a $300 piece of hardware that has decent GPU capabilities for that type of device. It's got an incredible amount of technology in the controllers, and they can be used for many different things. And the screen is really good quality. It's 720p, but it's good 720p. So the battery life is a little bit wonky. It's about 3 hours on Zelda. There are other issues, like it's not easy to charge. You're probably going to see some Nintendo Switch compatible battery pack coming here and there.
Yeah, it's easy to charge in the dock, obviously, because the dock's just plugged into power. But then when you want to charge it on the go, you can't have it in the kickstand because the charging dock is there down at the bottom.
That, and also it sucks in so much power that, for example, if it's turned on and you plug it into a MacBook Pro, it's going to charge the MacBook Pro and not the other way around. So it's hard to find a battery pack that is going to, if it's turned off, you can charge it off a laptop, but if it's not, it's probably going to be a little bit difficult. But so there are little kinks here and there, but overall for $300, it does what it needs to do really well. So overall, I think it's a pass to good on most of its characteristics. And within a year, it's going to be the kind of device that you just buy, not as an impulse buy. It's not quite there, but people are going to think, well, there are enough games there that I didn't get on the Wii U. Hopefully, the Virtual Console is going to bring back some older games that people have nostalgia for. And it's going to make a convincing enough, a compelling enough package that people are going to think, all right, I'll put $250 in this, and I can play it on the train, on in the hotel and stuff like that, because it is, to this day, in my opinion, the only real gamers portable system aside from current generation gamers portable system, because even now the phones and tablets are great for gaming for some people, but the gamers who love actual console games or PC games don't have a platform that will give them satisfaction, and the Switch is the closest to that I've seen.
Now, $300 for a portable gaming device with bundled-in controllers and a dock that can output 1080 seems like a good deal. However, in Thailand, Lertod, you're saying you can't get one.
It's $600.
$600.
And people are not saying where they're getting it. I have a personal friend that ended up calling a Sony distributor that sells Sony products, but got Nintendo Switch from there.
Really?
Somehow.
So that's because it's not officially released in Thailand, right?
It's not officially released. It's a bit of a scavenger hunt, because it's I think it's like gray market, black market, because people don't really advertise that they have it for sale.
Yeah.
Interesting. So you have to try and call a lot of different like game shops or electronics shops and try to convince them that you're.
Now, finally, before we move on, Sunbun says, how does Zelda taste? I need a real journalistic take on this. Of course, we reported previously about that. Should I do
are you sure? All right, go ahead.
It's actually not that bad. It's bitter.
Oh.
It's bitter, but it's not. It's got a little afterburn. That's about
there
it.
You go with your normal responsible journalism, Tom. This is so unnerving. I was so hoping you would scream and yell.
Hey man, if it had been bad, I would have. I do like spicy foods, so maybe my taste buds are dead. I don't know. But
I can't believe that this actually became a story, and even beyond this, that it was an actual story, since it is coded in something to make it less appealing to the youngsters. It's amazing.
All right, well, let's talk with Lertod a little bit. He was on the Phileas Club, Patrick Beja's other podcast, one of his other fine podcasts, talking about living in Thailand in general. And one of the stories he told that caught my ear was how people in Thailand, and this is from the Phileas Club, don't know what a web browser or the internet is. They know what Facebook and Instagram and Line is. And then, Lertod, you talked about how you don't use shopping carts. People in Thailand generally buy through chat. If you don't mind, can you explain again what you meant by that?
Yeah, I mean, just just to be clear, I don't believe it's just Thailand. I know for a fact it's like, yeah, us developing countries. So like Vietnam, us, we also think also South American countries. The thing we have in common are like what we call, mobile. People like to call mobile first users. So what we mean by that is countries' internet connectivity when it was on the desktop was not very distributed throughout the country because we just simply didn't have the networks. We only really started using the internet when it's now current days when it's mobile. So my mom never really used a computer, but she's now, she texts her friends and everything. So when you put it in that perspective, skip the web browser because if you think about it, you don't really use the browser on your phone that much. The way that my mom started using the phone was she was aware that her friends could be contacted through Line.
So she needed a phone to talk to her friends. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So the market only developed once people started using these social networks through their smartphones. And when I say people don't know what a web browser is, if I ask my mom if she knows how to use the internet, she's like, but you text me online, and she's like, yes. And then like, and how do you watch like the latest TV shows? Like, oh, on YouTube, And then it's like, but that's the internet. It's like, okay.
If you say so. Yeah.
If you say so.
She doesn't really care.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, you know what Chrome is? It's not. She doesn't really know. She line. She doesn't know she goes to a separate web browser. No, she thinks she's still in line. So yeah, I mean that's what I mean by that's how the internet works around here. And once you talk about e-commerce, comes in the issue of the user interface. So since there's no standardized, there's no big Amazon.com that everyone knows how to buy from. Every website has a different interface for how the shopping cart works. So it's really, and the metaphor doesn't really transfer to us users. If I were to tell my mom to, go to a website and then put this product into this, she doesn't really know like what the shopping cart is for in the first place. If you think about it, it doesn't really make sense. Because another factor for us developing countries is we don't really have that many credit cards. So why do you need a shopping cart to process payment when you're not paying by credit card? So what happens is instead of telling people to go to a website, people say, well, okay, why don't you just tell me the money and then give me the paying slip? So this becomes, I think, the origin of what caused the boom in bots and chat commerce and conversational commerce. For us, it was just a natural thing to do. If I were to teach my mom how to use a website and a shopping cart versus telling my mom, okay, why don't you just talk to this salesperson? It's like what you do when you go to a market. I'll tell her to chat. It's a more natural user interface.
Well, and she's already talking to her friends online, so she knows how to use Line. And she knows how to talk to someone at a market to buy something. So it's that makes sense.
Yeah, culturally, I think it's also important to understand that for us, especially in Asia, we like to buy from markets. We like to talk to the merchants, and then and we don't have such a self-service culture. I think the salary rates here are not that high. Oftentimes, it's easier to just hire someone and give a more personalized service than to actually do some complicated systems.
Yeah, and I think that's a key thing to understand this, because we think, well, okay, this idea of just talking to someone on Messenger and getting their bank account, right, not using a credit card, but just sending money to their bank account number, how can I trust them? But I'm curious if the shopping cart idea also sounds untrustworthy from your side, which is you're not talking to someone, you're just putting this number in a shopping cart. How do you know it's actually going to get you the thing you're going to get?
Yeah, exactly. From our side, like who made this website? How do I know who's behind this website? Is it trustworthy? And another thing that happened often is like, is it actually even in stock?
Right, and you can't ask someone.
And you might have already paid. So for us, where the ecosystem is only really developing, if you think about it, the only real factor that of buying online is trust. And you do Amazon does it through reviews, a lot of content, testimonials. For us, if you get to talk to someone, you build that trust. There's someone behind this store.
Does a bot like system threaten that model though, where you could be talking to a bot instead of an actual person, or does it matter?
Yeah, bot is like interesting for us because I think our approach to conversational commerce is that, okay, everyone is using the internet through these social networks and messaging. We kind of skipped the browser age. So since everyone's on these messaging systems, let's sell through this. Natural for us to just simply chat, service people like this. I always view bots as a way to make that kind of scale. So I don't think doing bot first is actually like the right way to approach it. I think it was you kind of have to create that behavior of learning to talk to people via this chat system and buy through it first. Natural language never actually really works, especially for us which have complicated language systems. All our words we don't have spaces between our words, for example. So it's really hard for our computers to learn about our types of languages. So we never really trust those kinds of automated systems.
And your language isn't prioritized for development either, which makes it even slower.
No, it's not. Yeah, no, it's not. So we actually don't trust bot. When bots came, some people started trying it, and once they realized that, hey, I'm talking to a bot, then it's not as interesting. You don't get that trust anymore.
So I think that is actually a huge advantage for Thailand and other similar countries for when the bots become self-aware and start murdering all of humanity. You will already
get to Thailand.
Yeah, they don't understand what we're saying. Everybody learn Thai.
Quick, hurry! I think there's a real lesson in development here too for people that may not realize if you're trying to bring, say, your app or anything to a market outside of the one you're familiar with, you need to figure out how people perceive things, because it's going to change how you develop any kind of interface, not just e-commerce.
Yeah. Every time we see these new innovations, we always never really expect it to work here. Even if we speak English, the accent is off. Yeah.
It's also, you as you explained, when you do conclude a purchase or a transaction, you'd send, you do the money transfer, and then you send an image of the receipt to. Yeah, a screenshot, which I guess, makes that ability to upload attachments on Messenger, on Facebook Messenger. It makes it really interesting for you guys, I suppose.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. When we were talking about the Facebook, changing their to menus, I was starting to think maybe they were targeting our types of markets first, because actually a lot of Facebook has actually released a lot of products in Thai markets and markets around here before in the US recently. So for example, having products within the Facebook pages, and also sending payments and invoices, because I think we just have a lot of usage and buying and selling through these chat interfaces.
And Facebook is working very hard to be successful in multiple markets, not just US and Europe.
Yeah, and I think another thing people kind of misunderstand about conversational commerce from the news I read through Western media is that when I say that we buy and sell through chat, I think that's usually the most important phase is when you're getting to know a store, and if you're getting to that trust in the salesperson, and you think about it like fashion products, for example. You can't really understand the material or what it feels like, or the origin, or especially sizing, which is a huge issue. And it's almost impossible to solve if you do it statically on the web, but it's not that difficult if you can do it through chat. But once you have that trust in the brand, usually people will be willing to learn about automated systems like shopping carts. So I think in apps like WeChat in China, people say, "Oh, you're buying and selling everything through chat." It's not necessarily through chat, but it's actually through the app, which happens to have apps and more apps within the chat app within WeChat. So that's happening. It's interesting in that these Line has always and WeChat has become kind of like their own operating systems within iOS, within Android.
Certainly
Apps.
platform, yeah, very platform-like.
Yeah.
It's interesting. As we're talking, and I understand we need to bring this to a close soon, but I'm starting to wonder, why couldn't this work in the West as well? For some products, what you're describing, basically maybe fashion products, or I don't know, footwear, or apparel.
Korean beauty masks.
Yeah. For example, it's impossible to get a good feel of what you want on an Amazon page for these things. Whereas if you had the opportunity to chat with someone, yes, it feels a little bit call center-y, which we don't like as much, I suppose. But I think in some cases, it might drive sales for a company like, name anyone, but any company could in those areas create purchases with
Innisfree.
Yeah,
that's a
yeah, and
beauty
especially small business. I think it provides a personal touch. I think if you think about it, what Amazon has been doing with, for example, the one click to purchase, with Amazon Echo with the dash button, they're not really using their website anymore. They're taking out the funnel of having to go to a website and checking out. So if you're just selling through chat and you're doing customer service, and then you tell them to go to a website, that's just another step in the funnel. I think e-commerce has become about how do you make the purchase as quickly as possible when the customer wants it the most. Merchants here learn to understand that if a customer comes in, you have to chat right away. Otherwise, you might not get that sale.
Yeah, I think instinctively when we think about this, we sort of, our mind drives back to the website, for Amazon or anything. But you have to remember, these happen like on Facebook Messenger or whatever messaging app you're using, WeChat, whatever. And so as people are spending their lives in Facebook or Twitter or Snapchat or God knows what, well, maybe not Snapchat, it's a little bit of a different beast, but then you find a page that someone recommended to you, and you're texting back and forth with your friends, and one of your contacts happens to be that Korean beauty products. I don't know why we settled on Korean beauty products, but and you're looking at their products, and someone is like, "Hey, do you need help with this?" I mean, I know this happens in web pages, and it's annoying when it does, but I think there's a place for it that might be supernatural and fluidify the purchasing act quite a bit for us as well, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. Just the final note. I think Thailand used to be a country where people always say that we would never buy our own products; we would only buy Western products. But ever since, I think this chat commerce has grown. A lot of local brands have been born through the internet. So I think there's an opportunity there. It's just a way to get, eliminate that mistrust from not having an opportunity to make that personal connection with someone.
Well, Todd, thank you so much for sharing these insights. I know we could probably go on all day because it's fascinating to me to go in the differences. So maybe we can get you back on again one of these days.
Oh, I would love to. Thank you.
Thanks to everybody who participates in our subreddit too. You can submit stories and vote on them at dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. If you see something that interests you out there, go post it. Real quickly, an email from Paul in Michigan said, Thursday night I was listening to your report on Microsoft opening up the Xbox Live Creators Program to the Muggles. As a developer, I was a bit surprised that I had not heard of it already. Ran home to do a bit of research. Quick correction, this program does not let you develop on the Xbox itself. We may have given that impression. In fact, I'm pretty sure we did. It lets developers use the Xbox One as its dev kit without having to get a special developer's version. You still have to use the Universal Windows platform, as we mentioned, and that, if you didn't quite catch it, requires you to use Visual Studio to do the actual development, which is still done in a traditional programming language like C++ or C#. Thank you, Paul, for pointing that out, because I think we started to imply that you didn't need anything but the Xbox to do that, and that's an important thing to note. All right, before we get out of here, let's see what Len has been drawing. Len.
Yes, it is me. I chose to go the easy route here and draw the Nintendo Switch, something that is really popular right now. To keep in mind that I was a huge Nintendo fanboy in the past, so I'm really excited for this to do well for Nintendo. Hearing what you have to say, it sounds like it has some merits, but also it's not. It doesn't sound like it's going to light the world on fire, but who knows? So the image is of Mario, a little bit disheveled, a little bit crazy, who's saying, "You want to come out and play with me again?"
Please don't hold the Wii U against me.
Come on, just come out and play, please.
It's funny because this is a sentiment that I see mirrored in Nintendo fans across the world. There are a lot of people looking at this and saying and thinking, I want to love Nintendo again.
Yes.
And this is their opportunity. And so far, it's not, they're not being turned down, I guess. So it's fun.
Well, I'm rooting for them. I'm a big Nintendo fanboy, so hopefully it'll do well for them. So
go check out Disheveled Mario and, give him a little love at lenperaltastore.com. You can see the picture and even order a digital or printed version for your own.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Lertad, again for joining us. If people want to find out more about what you do or your company, where should they go?
I am on Twitter, Lertad, Lertad. My company is Selsuki, SELLSUKI. It just means, it's a mix of Japanese and English. It means it handles chat commerce. We plug into Facebook, Line and websites and all that, but it is mostly very localized. I'm scared to go in and see what the English interface looks like, to be honest.
Well, go follow Lertad on Twitter. Once again, that's Lertad. Patrick, anything from you before we get out of here?
Sure. Not Patrick on Twitter and Facebook. And of course, my website, FrenchSpin.com. And if you want to hear more from Lertad, we did, as you mentioned, Tom, a month and a half ago, an episode of the Phileas Club called A Quick Panorama of Thailand, where he talks. We have a semi-long conversation about a lot of the things happening in Thailand. It's not quite news, it's more how is life in Thailand if you've never been there and you want to hear from someone there, explain the social, political climate, and with a lot of small fun anecdotes, including the ones about tech. So go check that out at FrenchSpin.com. It's the Phileas Club, episode 80.
Thanks to everybody who supports the show, like Christian Cantrell, Sandra Buchanan, Brian Kotarski, and big thanks to Mike Pisnick and Chris Johnson and Chris Larson, who all just raised their pledge. Why don't you join them? Patreon.com/DTNS. Our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. We're live Monday through Friday, usually at 4:30 p.m. Eastern at alphageekradio.com and diamondclub.tv, and our website is dailytechnewsshow.com. Back at the normal time on Monday with Veronica Belmont. Talk to you then.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
That was a fun show. Thanks, you guys.
Yay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, big thanks to everyone for making the logistics work.
Oh yeah, no, this was a bit of a struggle if people didn't realize to figure out Bangkok, Paris, and LA, like the perfect storm of time zones. But yeah, it worked out great.
Yeah, thanks.
That's good.
Thanks for staying up late for us, Lertad.
Oh no, my pleasure. I've actually been listening to all of you for a long time.
Oh, good, very good.
Cool,
I'm
cool.
happy to hear that, and it was great having you on. You were fantastic.
All right, I'm going to log off.
All right.
All right, thanks, Len.
Bye,
All right,
man.
take care, guys. See you on
Have a
Friday.
good Saturday.
Bye.
Okay, see you.
And,
And Lertad, if you need to
yeah, me
head,
too.
please do. Yeah.
thanks
Yeah,
for being
thanks
on.
again for making it work. Yeah,
All right, take care.
I'll tell you again, everyone. Bye, Roger.
Bye,
Bye.
Todd.
And Patrick, I don't know if you need to go as well. That's fine.
Fairly soon. Can you tell me when we're not live anymore?
Sure. Yeah.
Do you want to pick a quick title?
Yeah, let's pick a quick title and then we'll say
Top
goodbye.
is chewing gum, popsicles, and Anks. How does followed up with how does Zelda taste?
Nice.
Wrestling stuff.
Mm-hmm.
False Uber. Cows are people too. For DTNS, please press 1. Skynet isn't here, man. Validating idiots. Nintendo scavenger hunt. Trust no bot. She calls me Poppy. You have to tell me if you're a cop. It makes me think of cows. Welcome to movie phone for that's for DTNS press 1. For Frenchman press 2. Sheepest Mario. Give Mario a little love. I like how does Zelda taste?
Yeah, and we did spend a good amount of time talking about the Switch, so.
Sure.
Patrick, do you have a thought on the title?
Give Mario a little love is cute, but yeah, how does Zelda taste? Everyone's been doing their how does Zelda taste thing. It's almost a meme now, which I
the one thing that I did wrong is I popped this out to taste it without closing the game. And I got the little, hey, you didn't close your game, so you lose any progress since the last time you saved, just so you know. Crap.
I'm sure it's fine.
Yeah, I'm sure I didn't lose much, but still. Kids, don't forget, it is really a cartridge, so if you don't save your game.
I still don't understand that, but sure. Like,
well, it lets them only have 32 gigabytes inside. I think Patrick had the right point there.
No, I mean, I know why they did it, but I don't know why they did it. Like, it's just, you know what I mean?
It's cheap. It's cheap. They could have. I think they struggled to bring the price under 300. I think that's the main issue. We're just used to seeing all of those devices, you know, that are super powerful and perform great, but they're all for $500, right? The phones and all of those.
Yeah, no, I'm just thinking, like, you know, I can understand if you needed to add more storage to it, but just going to a full e-store or whatever to deliver the games.
I mean, you can still download
and
stuff. It's not like they didn't do an e-store. That'd be even weirder.
So how does Zelda taste? Is that good?
Yeah, I think so. That works for me.
Friends don't let friends taste Zelda.
That might be even better.
Well, that would imply that you aren't my friends, though, because you let me do it.
I wasn't sure what you were doing.
It was too late. By the time you realized my horrible plan. It definitely tastes bad. I don't want to keep it in my mouth, but it was not. It was not as bad as I expected. I expected to be like, you know, maybe because I knew it was going to taste bad. I don't know.
That's the episode title. I don't want to keep it in my mouth.
That's somebody's episode title. All right. Almost done there. Thanks, everybody, for getting up on a Saturday morning with us, all you guys in the chat room and watching live. It's not that late on the East Coast, I know, but fantastic. I see some Pacific Coast people in there. So
Pacific Coast people.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll be back again on the normal time Monday. Have a great rest of your weekend. We'll talk to you then.
Bye.